phones, computers, tablets, Alexas, smart light bulbs, TVs, all connecting to one device, your router. This device does it all. It's your router, it's your WAP, it's your switch, it's everything, all in one. And that device with one cable connects you to the internet. And that one cable could be a coaxial cable, it could be Ethernet, doesn't matter. And that's your network. That's a typical SOHO network. Ever heard that term before? SOHO. Small office, home office. And this is obviously smaller and much more simple than what you might see at a business or an enterprise. Enterprise networks you find at a business have massive routers and switches and firewalls, and they have a ton of security features, but they still get hacked. Which begs the question, if those big companies can get hacked, is your small little dinky network safe? In most cases, no. No, it's not. Let me show you where you might be vulnerable. Here are your 4 weak areas. The first big one, straight from the internet. Can people attack you and get into your network? We'll test and find out. We'll try. By far, the scariest weak point you may have in your network are the devices that are connected to your network. The things you have in your house. Huge vulnerabilities. Number 3, your wireless. Anyone can walk by and see your wireless network and try to connect to it. Is it safe? And 4, probably the most impactful, is your connection to your business, to your company, your job. I mean, come on, most of us are working from home right now, right? How does your company have you connecting to their stuff? Is it secure? We'll talk about that. So number 1, is your network safe from the outside? Let's test it out. The first thing we have to look at is your public IP address. When you connect to the internet, your ISP or your internet service provider gives your router a public IP address. This layer 3 network address is what you use to surf the internet. It's kind of like your name, kind of like your home address. It's how websites know to communicate with you. Do you know your public IP address? If you do, put it in the comments below. No, please don't do that. It's actually very, very bad if someone finds out what your public IP address is. Let me show you. Let's actually find out what yours is real quick. Open up your web browser and we'll navigate on over to google.com. And right here in the search bar, just type in, what is my IP address? And there it is. Again, it's very bad for someone to know your public IP address because it tells a lot about you. Don't believe me? We'll try this. The link below this search right here, you might see here, whatismyipaddress.com. I'm going to go to that. And right here in the browser, it shows me pretty close to where I live. If I zoom out there, yeah, Kansas. That's crazy. Scary, right? So if someone learns your IP address, they could get a pretty good guess of where you live. But that's not the only danger. If a hacker learns that this is your public IP address, they'll start using hacking techniques to find weaknesses in your network. You want to try some? Let's try it on your network right now. Now I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. The first way is really easy, takes like 3 seconds. The second way is really nerdy and geeky and is super fun. But anyways, basic way first, easy way first. Open up your web browser and navigate to a site called pentest-tools.com. And then right here in the middle, click on scan your network. What this will do is actually scan your public IP address and see if there's any open holes in your network, open ports. So go ahead and copy your IP address there, paste it in here, and I'm actually going to put another network in because my network's pretty secure. This one I know is vulnerable. I want to show you what that looks like. So go ahead and click on scan now. And notice right here what it says, scanning for open ports. What does that mean? Ports are literally holes in your network. So like right now, your network, your router probably has a firewall. And what that does is protect anything from the outside from getting in. But what you can do if you want to use some cool things, like maybe you have a website inside your network, you might open up a hole. Maybe that hole is port 80 or HTTP. That will allow people to access your public IP address at port 80 and get to something behind your firewall. Maybe you have a website running on your laptop or something, just something fun you did, maybe a little project you did, and then you forgot about it. Maybe you shut your website down, but that hole might still be there. That's a bad thing. Ideally, you don't want any holes in your network at all. Nothing's coming in. So looking back at our scan results, let's see how vulnerable I am. I'm going to scroll down to the free stuff here. It found an open port. A very popular one actually, 3389. That's remote desktop. You never ever want to leave that port open on your network. Now, what did you find? Do you have any ports open on your network? Let me know in the comments below. And it's okay to tell me that. Just don't tell me your public IP address. And I'll show you what we can do about that here in a moment. But next, I want to show you the geeky, awesome, way to search and test your network for vulnerabilities. Now, if I scroll down to the bottom of this page real quick, notice it says it was a light scan. They don't give you access to the full features, but they're actually using a free open source program called Nmap to scan your network. Yeah, so it's free, open source, meaning we can use that tool ourselves. Let's do it. Now to do that, we will need a server outside your network. So we'll need a Linux server that's not inside here. You don't want that to happen. You want to scan the outside of your network to see if there's any holes you can poke through. Now, when you heard Linux server, you may have thought, wow, hard, I can't do that. Yes, you can. It's super easy. I'll walk you through it right now, and it's free Dude, I'm so stoked. Let's set it up right now. Let's do it. In the description, I have a link. It's to a site called Linode.com. This is one of my favorite cloud service providers. I use them all the time, and if you sign up right now, you get a $100 credit to do anything you want. Now, the server we're about to create in the cloud costs $5 a month to run. If you just create one server to play with, that's 20 months of free Linux server goodness. Why would you not want that? So go ahead and sign up for that. I'm gonna get logged in here to mine, and this will be so fast, trust me. So at the top right, click on Create, and click on Linode. We're using all default settings, so easy. Leave it at Debian 10 for the image. Choose your region. Somewhere close to you. I'm going to choose Dallas. Scroll down to pick your size. Pick the smallest one, $5. That's what I want. And then put in the name of it. I'm hacking. And then create a password. That's it. Click on Create, and you just created a server in the cloud. Awesome. If you've never done it before, it's pretty exciting. Man. And we'll wait for that to finish cooking. You'll know it's done brewing when you see that it's running. So now let's connect to it. Right here in the browser, click on Launch Console. I want to change mine to Glish and go ahead and get logged in. Username will be root and password will be the one that you just created. We're in. We're in a Linux computer. Nah. So first we got to install Nmap. Don't worry, super easy. One command. apt install nmap-y. That's it. That's all you do and hit enter. It's going to do it. And it's really fast. Watch. Done. That was like 15 seconds. Okay. Now I want to test your network for vulnerabilities. We'll enter one command. Nmap. We'll do a dash lowercase s, uppercase T. This will use a TCP scan. And then put in your IP address. And hit enter. Perfect time for a coffee break. It might take a moment here. The results are in. It scanned 1,000 ports. 987 of them are closed. That's good. But port 80's open. 22's open. 443. 1720, I got some holes to plug, man. Now again, this is a legit hacking tool that hackers actually use to find vulnerabilities. So you just hacked yourself, and that's really cool to say. And this tool is pretty dang powerful. We're not even scratching the surface. But let me show you one more command we can use. The command will be nmap --script, then type in vuln or vuln, and then your public IP address. And hit enter and take you a big old long coffee break.
My new book, Keyboard Rich, How Anyone Can...
Hit enter and take you a big old long coffee break. Okay, this took a minute, but it's worth it. Trust me, watch this. Why this took so long is it used a script to find vulnerabilities on your network. It searched known vulnerabilities and saw if your network was up to snuff. Mine wasn't. One attack that could cripple my little Cisco network here is Slow Loris, a DDoS attack, or DDoS. I'm vulnerable to that attack. If I scroll down, I've got a TLS vulnerability. Not good, but this is exactly what hackers will do to find vulnerabilities in your network. If they know your public IP address, they'll scan it and go, I found a vulnerability for this guy's network, this gal's network. I'm going to exploit that sucker, and then you're done. So that begs the question, how do you protect people from seeing or knowing your public IP address? The first big thing is just don't tell people your public IP address. And that might be like a duh statement, but you might accidentally show them, like maybe while you're making a video or live streaming, maybe you thought I just did. You're probably thinking, Chuck, you're an idiot. You just exposed your public IP address. You said not to. That's not my public IP address. I don't live in Kansas. And that leads me to one of the best ways to protect yourself, and that's use a VPN, which is what I'm using right now. I'm using NordVPN. You can use whatever VPN you want to use, but this will hide my public IP address from the internet as I'm surfing. Now, I will say this, it's not foolproof. Don't think if you're using a VPN, you're just completely safe on your home network. No, that's not the case at all. Because while my computer right here, my beefy computer behind me over here, it's using this VPN and has that public IP address, everything else in my network, whatever device it is still using my real public IP address. And what hackers often do is they'll use that tool Nmap. And instead of scanning just one IP address like we were doing, they'll scan ranges of IP addresses. They'll literally have computers sitting there just running through these things. And they might just happen upon your IP address and find vulnerabilities, and boom, they got you. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself? You got a couple options here. Either harden or secure your router, make some config changes, or get a better router that can actually be more secure. Now, most likely your router you have now can do a good enough job to protect you. I'm going to show you real quick 6 things I would change on your router right now. You have to do this. Please do this right now. Let's do it. Now, I have no idea what router you have, but most routers are pretty similar. So first thing I would change here on this TP-Link router is make sure you have your firewall enabled. I'm going to go to Advanced, scroll down to Security, Click on Firewall and make sure this sucker is turned on, and it is. But that's not the only problem you might have. That doesn't close all ports. You can still allow ports through even with your firewall on. There's a little thing called port forwarding, and let's go make sure there's nothing coming through our firewall. So for that, I'm going to scroll up a little bit to NAT forwarding. That's what you might see on your router. I'll click on NAT forwarding and then port forwarding. Every entry you see here is one hole in your network. Port 1080, port 80, ports 21 through 45. These are being allowed. You may have done these yourself to try and get something running, like maybe you have a Plex server, right? Plex is awesome, operating on the port 32400. Go ahead and scan your network for that. See if it's open. You can do that with the command nmap, -s, capital T, and then -p for port, and put in whatever port you want to. 32400 for Plex, and then your public IP address. It'll tell you if it's open or not. So best practice, close all your stinking ports. Don't let anything in from the outside. You might be thinking, Chuck, but I want to access my stuff from the outside. I want to do that. No. I'll show you a better way. Just don't do it this way, please. And that was number 2, by the way. So right here, remote management. Turn that crap off right now. This right now allows someone from the outside, some nefarious hacker with a beard, a guy really up to no good, he's allowed to access your public IP address, whatever it is, on port 443. He'll hit this portal and have the ability to try and log in. Now sure, he'll need a username and password. And if you change that, you might be good. Did you change your username and password on your router? Because if you didn't, it's got default values. It might be admin admin, it might be admin password, it might be something else, but those things can be easily found. Oh my gosh, stop it, don't do it. Go into your router, change your default username and password right now. That was number 4. So number 3 was disable remote management. You don't need people to manage your router from the outside. You don't need that. And change your username and password right now. Now you might be wondering, Chuck, well, why do they have remote management on the router if it's dangerous? Well, in best case scenarios, the router is safe and you can access it remotely and it's secure HTTPS. The thing is, a lot of routers have firmware, have software that's currently vulnerable, meaning that hackers could find this, get to this page and exploit it, break into your network, just like that. So why risk it? Just disable that feature. It's not that important to have for you. Speaking of firmware, update your dang firmware, update your software on your router. I'm gonna go right here to firmware upgrade, and I'm going to upgrade to whatever upgrade I find. Done. Now, it won't be that fast. This is an emulation here. But literally before this video, I upgraded my firmware on my network, my UniFi hardware. Why do you think they have upgrades? Why do you think they have one available for you? Because they're doing one of two things. They have a new feature, or they found a vulnerability with their hardware and software, and they're patching it, they're fixing it. So if you have hardware right now in your network that has not been updated, it's likely it has a vulnerability that hackers can exploit. Man, you might already be hacked right now. Ooh, scary, right?